It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stolen base, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness. Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Make sure you take a moment, go to Game7Baseball.com, check out a tournament that you want to get into, 8U through 14U. A lot of fun. Going to be some good stuff. We're out there. We got 7 weekends that we will be with Game 7, starting in March at the Spring Showdown, finishing with the Firecracker NIT out at the WAC. We got our Super 7 14U Invitational. Appreciate all those teams that jumped in there. We invited some folks, and we appreciate it very much. We got 24 teams. We're going to have some fun. We're going to see a lot of teams and where they're going in high school, and we got 3 days. Friday, we're going to be out doing a lot of interviews. We're going to have some great folks. Premier Pitching Performance going to be out there talking. We got Prime Sports coming out. And we got some more stuff on the go coming. So we're looking forward to it. Please check out Game7Baseball.com. Hey, tell them Youth Baseball Midwest sent you. Appreciate that. Today, though, we have on the show head coach, Willard High School, Scott McGee. We're talking about some Southwest Missouri baseball. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great. Excited to be on and talk about the great players and teams down this way.
Absolutely. It is some really good baseball. It's one of the things that we've noticed. We've been watching over the last couple of years. We were down there, last year. We live streamed from your place. I got a lot of grief from Coach Durnan, though. He goes, yeah, you guys finally come down, and all my guys are hurt, and that was a tough one.
All of his sons were hurt, and it's tough.
Got a chance to meet Coach Spitz from Springfield Catholic, and had a great conversation with a lot of you guys down there. And I've really enjoyed developing the relationship with you and your program, and just having the opportunity to talk baseball here. I appreciate it greatly.
We appreciate you coming down here and giving these kids and programs some publicity. It's really appreciated.
Absolutely. I know the Ozone does a great job down there. They talk a lot of high school sports, but we want to focus on baseball, and that's what we do. So let's get started. We've got, what have we got? Ozark Mountain Conference. We got the COC, the Big 8. I know I'm missing a couple other conferences.
I mean, the bigger schools, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's like the Mid Lakes and stuff. As you're talking about Class 4, 5, 6, that's what you got. So,
the Mid Lakes Conference. That was the other one I was thinking about, because it is some of the smaller. And you guys got, Aurora down there has been doing well recently. Monette has played some pretty good baseball as well. Some of the smaller the Class 4 schools that we've seen from that area, they've been doing well. So let's get into this. Let's start talking. Give us an overview. Where are we at? I know the big change ups with the COC. I know a lot of people, especially up here in St. Louis, not really familiar with that. And the changes why did that change so much, Coach?
Really what you had was you had a few of the smaller COC schools that felt like they weren't that competitive in football. Decide to kind of branch off and form their own conference. And so they have pulled some different teams. And so that has created the Ozark Mountain Conference, which is a good baseball league. But then when that all happened, the old Ozark Conference dissolved. And some of the schools from that joined the OMC, but a lot of the bigger schools joined the COC. So when you're talking about large school baseball, the COC is the premier conference down here by quite a bit. Now there's some good OMC teams, but as far as just night in, night out, I mean, you're going to have nights where it's Kickapoo playing Nixa, Willard playing Glendale, Nixa playing Republic, and it's just all going to be Ozark, all those teams, Webb City. You could say 7 or 8, 9 really good high school baseball teams in a 14-team league is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, 14 teams. You guys are divided into two sections, East and West, and I think Lebanon is in that east side of the conference as well, which they've had some really good success over the last few years.
It's weird, they've won 20 plus. Coach Weatherman's there now doing a great job. They keep getting shipped to St. Louis for districts, and you're driving 2.5 hours to go play, CBC or something. It's a little bit tough, but they've been a good program as well.
Yeah, that's kind of the bummer about that. They were in District 2 with Vianney and and those guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of tough. But hey, and it was funny because Central Springfield, they got shipped up to I think District 6 or 7 as well up there. So it's kind of tough in those respects with those bigger schools. Sometimes somebody's gotten left out of the mix here and there.
Absolutely. It's Kansas City, St. Louis, Columbia, and Springfield are the Class 6s. And if there's 10 down here in Springfield area, they're Class 6, 2 of them have to leave with just the way it is. And so it ends up being kind of crazy. So I've been in a district up in Kansas City with Lee Summit West and those guys, and you have to stay in hotels to play district games. It's a little bit weird sometimes.
Aurora in the Big 8, it's some of the smaller schools, and I know you may not know as much about some of these, and I get that, but Aurora, Cassville, East Newton, Lamar, McDonald County, they've been tough for the last few years. Monette, Mount Vernon, Nevada, they've been in that Final Four and really pressing championships. I think they won it 2 years ago, didn't they?
I don't think Nevada did, but they had a guy that went to Nebraska. They made it to the quarterfinals, I think, and got beat by, I want to say Blair Oaks, but I could be wrong about that. Maybe Southern Boone. The thing is, that area up there of Blair Oaks, Southern Boone in Class 4 is really tough, really tough. And then you go up, get to St. Pius X in Kansas City, and St. Louis does not have a lot of Class 4 baseball, so it kind of opens up the rest of the state. And so there's some really good Class 4 matchups in the Kansas City, Columbia, Springfield area.
Yes, there is. You're right about that. And Knob Noster is coming into that. You got, but Seneca also. Seneca has played some really good baseball in that Class 4. So there's some really good. The Big 8 conference is no joke.
Correct. Big 8's really good baseball. Really good football. They've not been great at basketball. So that's what's so neat about the leagues is how the leagues are really good at certain things. The Ozark Mountain Conference we were talking about is a basketball league. It's not a very good football league. So you can kind of look through there and see what you have. But it's really pretty cool because that Ozark Mountain Conference is going to be strong now that Rogersville, they left the Big 8 to go to that. Carl Junction's got a really strong junior class. And then Branson, who's Branson is really, really good. They've just been stuck at a district with us in Glendale, and they are right there with us and just always just kind of just a little small amount behind. I mean, they're right there with us. And so, they're a really good baseball school also.
Yeah, that's and the thing about the Ozark Mountain is, I mean, Rogersville's the only Class 4 school in there. The rest are Class 5, which is good. And it's Bolivar, Marshfield. Marshfield's been very good the last couple of years. And I think they're going to be back right in the mix again. Am I wrong?
They absolutely are. They won 23 games last year and only graduated really one player. Now, he was a good pitcher, but he wasn't like a 10-0 type pitcher. So, they're going to be right there. Their junior class is good. Spencer Adams, Hunter Fryman. I think Fryman was committed to Mizzou under the old coaching staff, and so he's back open. Adams, or I said Spencer. His name's Carson Adams. I really like Carson Adams' game. He's a tall, lanky guy. He's like a Willard baseball player. He's patient, hits low liners, can play multiple positions on defense. So I really like their team. That's who actually we open up with. But in the OMC, and then you haven't mentioned yet Springfield Catholic. Is Catholic in the Big Eight? Yeah, they're in the
Uh,
Big Eight.
are they? I
Or
think they moved. I think no, they're in the Mid Lakes.
The Mid Lakes, okay. And so Catholic, they've got a junior, last name Smith. His brother Ben Smith is pitching at
Mhm.
Mizzou, and this guy's a junior, Jack Smith. He's committed to Mizzou, and Coach Spitz has done a really good job with that program. They had to start some freshmen last year that'll now be grown up. They had a really nice sophomore third baseman that could really hit, and so now he'll be a junior. So Catholic is going to be really good in that Mid Lakes. You're right. Fair Grove, Stratford, Mid Lakes has good baseball too. We don't play a lot of those schools other than Catholic, but it should be a good league.
I think that gets into the Class 3 in
Yeah.
that respect, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it
Which
does.
which fits Catholic. I mean, they have the championship points, and that puts
Yeah.
them in the upper class. But that fits more their demographic as far as enrollment is concerned.
And I understand the point of the championship factor, and I know why private schools are mad. I also know why public schools think it should be there. But I just think it's weird that we would say Vianney and Catholic are in the same class. Because Springfield Catholic is not. I mean, they had Coleman Morrison and Ben Smith and Jeremy Rader come through there that all played varsity baseball for 4 years and carried them and got them a bunch of points in Class 3 and 4. So now they're Class 5, and all those guys are gone. I don't really know that it should be like that. I don't know. I'm not saying that I know a perfect system, but
Right.
it is odd to me that Vianney's going to have. They're going to cut more kids than Catholic has come out for baseball, and to think that there are private schools in the same class doesn't make a lot of sense. But Coach Spitz does a good job there. He's a former college coach and has built that program up well.
I think we could, I think that it is tough. I agree. What's that system look like and whatnot. I think, that's a conversation, but I think it should be had. I think, some of these championship points hang on a little, maybe too long,
Yeah.
for some of these kids who, they're in the program. It's like, man, oh yeah, we finally dropped to Class 3 after I leave, you know. So I think
Absolutely.
that should be a conversation, but that's another program. Um, we've got the Ozark Mountain, as we talked about, and then the COC. So that's where we covered it. Coach, you were talking before we started the show, pitching in the Southwest. Uh, it's really good. That's where people a lot are hanging their hats on. Talk to us a little bit about some of the pitching staffs down there.
I think when you look at the senior class, if you look around our state, there's some really good Division II programs, and like all of these senior arms are going D2 to really good programs that will probably pitch right away. I would probably start with a kid like Jackson Gamble at Nixa, who's a big framed kid. His velocity has really fluctuated. I think he was sick last year and lost a bunch of weight, but I know he was 91, 92 at a PBR showcase not too long ago. He's going to be really, really good. He's going to Missouri Southern. He's got a teammate named Colin Kelly, just a bulldog strike thrower, going to Maryville up in St. Louis. And then they've got a third guy, a sophomore named Cameron Miller, who could really pitch it. Athletic guy. I think he's been up to 90. He's going to be good. So Nix has got those guys. But then you look around the area, uh, Webb City, their top two guys are both going to Missouri Southern. Luke Beverlin, who I think was something like 72 Ks and 9 walks last year and is a lefty. So like I still have nightmares about facing him. Um, and they've got a kid named I think it's Landon Fletcher. Landon Fletcher's also going to Missouri Southern out of that Webb area. Joplin's got a good junior named Brecken Green. But then you get back to the Springfield area, and I want to kind of focus on the seniors. Kickapoo's got a big lefty named Colin Muldoon. And I say big in that he's like 6'3". He's a wiry framed kid, throws from more like of a 3/4 slot, has a really good slider. His changeup was just okay last year, but I think that's going to be a really good pitch for him this year. So you've got him that's really good. And then Ozark, who has just not been quite able to get there. Their number one is a guy named Cooper Pumphrey, who's going to Mizzou. Probably 6'4", 205. I've seen videos of him front squatting like 335. I mean, it's insane what he does in the weight room. He's a dude. If he can put it together and be in the zone, he's probably the best guy in the area, to be honest with you. And then their second guy is Hudson Roberts, who I thought gave us as tough of a time as anybody last year. He's just 85 to 87, but he throws sliders for strikes. He holds runners. He's a 1,000-point scorer on the basketball team. he was committed to Arkansas, and now, of course, with the reduction in scholarship numbers, and maybe we're going to have 34-year-olds playing Division I baseball before long. So it's kind of hurt high school recruiting. So I think he's open for recruitment right now. So those are kind of some of the guys outside of Willard, and they're in that senior class that can really pitch. Glendale's got a guy named Easton Friesen. He's going to Rockhurst up in Kansas City, and so that senior class can really pitch. I think the senior class offensively is down just a little bit, but they're up a little bit on the mound. So it should be some really good 2-1, 3-2 type ball games, which we'll like when it's 38 degrees and we're trying to play out here before too long.
I know. I think Republic. Cade White was there at Republic. They've kind of, those kind of guys have moved on. So where's some of those teams in some of those smaller spots going to pull some of their pitching from?
So Republic's got a really athletic junior named Preston McCracken going to Missouri State. I think he's an upper 80s guy. Got all the good stuff metrics. He's got to get in the zone a little more often, but Preston's going to be, he's the junior, along with Neosho has a junior named Brady Crane who's going to Arkansas on the mound. He's a big physical, low 90s guy. So those are the two juniors, other than the one we've got in Levi Hilton. Those are the guys that are the best kind of in the area. So Republic has been a really good program. Got beat by Jeff City in 21, I believe, 22 to go to the Final Four. They lost Cade White. I'm not saying they're rebuilding, but they've got to find some pitching outside of McCracken. But they could be right there as well. And in that district is probably Ozark, Nixa, Glendale, Kickapoo, and Republic, all in the same district. And you say, well, okay, but what's 6, 7, 8 looking like? Well, that may be Joplin, who's got a pitcher who could pitch for any of those schools. Who knows where Lebanon slots in, but Lebanon's got a good, gritty offensive lineup. So even your first-round district game is not going to be that easy in Class 6. But, yeah, the juniors are kind of at Republic, Neosho. And then to go back to the OMC, Carl Junction has Cooper Videz, Dalton Endicott, that are both two good junior arms as well. That should make them pretty tough.
Wow. It looks like, and we saw a little bit of Carl Junction. They played tough baseball. Their record didn't quite show, I think, some of the games they played. Am I wrong in that?
They kind of had a weird season, to be honest with you, in that when they were ready to play, they were as good as anybody. They just had some games they didn't play great in. But it's also the product of when your best players are sophomores. Are they mentally mature enough to play 36 games? It gets pretty easy to say, we play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The Friday game we're not really ready for, and they mail it in. Now all those guys are juniors. So I think these next 2 years, Carl Junction is going to make a big leap. They're probably in a district with Webb, which is what's going to be hard for them because Webb's just got such a storied tradition. Webb is super athletic. And then, like I said, Luke Beverlin and London, or I keep calling him Landon Fletcher. I don't know why I call him London all the time, but his name is Landon. I don't know anyone named London. I don't know why I keep saying
that. Well, I think you're thinking of London Fletcher, the linebacker for the Rams way back in the day.
You are exactly right. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. You're right.
Exactly. There you go. Hey, let's look at that down in that area. Joplin, Carl Junction, Webb City is dominated down there. Mm-hmm. Is it the smaller schools and whatnot in that area, or is it just, what are some of the other high schools? I know Carthage is in that area. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
In that Joplin mix. Where are we thinking about Carthage there? Are they in that mix at all?
Probably not this year. Just from the standpoint of when brand new coach last year took over, Kevin Berge, did a great job. They've built a brand new field. What Carthage deals with is what a lot of the Joplin area deals with, in that football is king by far, and so the depth of their team is not great. Just because those guys who at Willard are hitting 6, 7, and 8, at Carthage, they may be getting ready for football season and not even playing baseball. And so it's going to take a while for some stability of coaching. And so I think Coach Berge will get them there. They're probably not quite as a Class 6 program. They're probably not there this year, but they do have a pitcher who's going to play college football at the Division I level. He hasn't committed yet, but I know I think Iowa State, K-State, all those guys have offered him. He could win a first-round game for sure. But as far as like to win a district, they're probably a year or two away still, just as Coach Berge continues to develop the depth in that program. Like you said, Webb's been the kind of the big dog down in that area, but Mack County's had some years, Nevada's had some years, and then Joplin historically has been a strong program and could be pretty tough this year too. I know growing up, their juniors were really good players, so be excited to see those guys that played JV last year move up to the varsity and see what they can do.
I think it's tough when when you start talking about that, when football is that way. You're talking about, that's a cultural mindset that has to transition, hey guys, we're here, but how do you do that? And especially within a Class 6 school when there's already the competition level that there is. And I remember, being in that area in the high school back in the day. Football's always been kind of the king down in that respect. So I think it's interesting to see where that goes from here. I also want to look at this, Coach. When you're talking about some of the guys, we talk about Nixa and Glendale. There's a couple of dudes that are, national premier type players in Sebastian Norman and Caden Cloud at Glendale and Nixa respectively. These are generational kind of players that come along here and there. What's, how does that affect the area? Does that help the baseball in that area and bring that to another level?
Absolutely. What I think the biggest thing it does is that if you're a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grader, you see guys like that and you say, oh, I can play at Kentucky, because don't tell me you can't when Caden Cloud's doing it. When Sebastian Norman is going to Oklahoma State and people are talking about guys getting drafted, it's a really motivating thing. And sometimes we get into this little bubble of we see like, oh, everyone from my area is going to this school. Well, they kind of a little more of a national brand that kind of shows. I think the other thing you can see with both of those two is the unbelievable athleticism. We talked about football just a minute ago. The huge advantage to football is they develop athletes, and too many kids just develop their baseball skill and not their athleticism. Caden Cloud and Sebastian Norman are phenomenal athletes. Sebastian Norman's one of the best just athletes I've ever seen. He easily dunks basketballs, runs a 6'4", 60, hits the ball 107. I mean, you name it. How would you like to play quarterback? He doesn't play football, but how'd you like to play quarterback and have him blitz? I mean, it's like he is a phenomenal athlete, and I think guys seeing that and saying, okay, if I want to go to Oklahoma State in that level of a school, I may not have to be that athletic, but I have to be way more athletic than I am right now. And so it's very motivating to guys in our area, and they bring out the best in you. When you're facing Sebastian Norman as a pitcher, when you're facing Caden Cloud as a pitcher, you have to throw your best stuff. And both of those two are also on teams where you can't just walk those guys. Glendale's got a really good sophomore named Brady Yates. Nix's got dudes everywhere. It isn't. How often are you a Division I player that's a 4-year starter in Wyatt Vincent, and everyone keeps talking about your teammate? But like Wyatt Vincent would be the guy in every other program, and deservedly so. It's just that Cloud is also a dude, and so both of those guys are also on teams where you can't just pitch around guys. So it's really going to be fun matchups throughout the area when all these teams are playing each other.
I love that thought process when you're talking. And, when you said, I want people to understand, he said Sebastian Norman at 6'4". Well, you have to understand Sebastian, I think, is at least 6'2", maybe 6'3", right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And he's 220 plus pounds.
Easily. I don't know what he's listed at, but he definitely looks like he's 235. And I'm not saying from like a overweight standpoint. I'm saying like, when you look at like Giannis or LeBron and you're like, man, those guys are strong. That's kind of how he's built. He's very, very impressive.
So when you see a kid that can run like that with that kind of frame, that is unbelievable.
Yeah. What it does is, when you're positioning your defenders, you kind of know the speed and power and you can do things. But with him, if you play too deep in places, it turns bloop singles into doubles because of how fast he is. If you play your infield tight, he hits the ball so hard that now you don't have any range on the infield. And so he just opens up a whole host of problems, similar to what like a Byron Buxton or a younger Mike Trout brought to the game. In that if they mishit the ball, they're just beating it out at first base. So how do you defend them? Makes it really tough. And so Sebastian, he didn't single-handedly beat us because they pitched a shutout against us. But 2 years ago in the district championship, he won the game. I mean, he had a 2-run homer. They won 2-0. He has that kind of ability to just change a game.
Yeah. One mistake, just one.
One
just
mistake.
One pitch.
Yep.
And Coach, when things like that, people go, "Oh my gosh!" Hey, that's when you tip a cap. That's a handshake, and one pitch, one play better, and you didn't do anything wrong in that respect. That guy just beat you on that play.
It's what's so beautiful about baseball too, is that guy only has a couple opportunities to do it. In basketball, you're given the Sebastian Normans of the world's 25 shots a game, but in baseball, he's going to get an at-bat, probably one at-bat a game with a guy on base. And against us 2 years ago, he came through. He actually came through again last year too. I don't know what it is. We can't get the guy out, so I don't know what it is. But we get a lot of people out here at Willard. We cannot get Sebastian Norman out. We got one more year, and we gotta figure something out. Maybe we'll bring out a slow pitch softball pitcher and see if he can't do something there. So I don't know. But can't do it.
Throw him the ephus, baby. Throw him the ephus. Do something. I liked what you said about Wyatt Vincent too. And some of these guys with Nixa, you always kind of talk about the big names. We saw Colin Kelly pitch last year against Springfield Catholic. This young man is really good. He's a really good pitcher. I know you got Jackson Gamble there and on that, but that number 2 right there behind him, it's a very strong situation. And when you're talking about that kind of pitching depth and what just looking at your team and some of the things that you're dealing with, you've got to look at district. And then when you come out of district this year, which I like this rule change for 5 and 6, is you got a best 2 out of 3. So you're talking about real baseball. I got to win a series. I love that thought process.
I honestly think it's going to be more exciting than the Final Four. Just point blank, playing the same opponent. You play on Friday night, all the mouthing between the dugout. I mean, respectful mouthing, but all the mouthing between the dugouts, the student sections, and then you get to turn around and play again on Saturday, and maybe a game 3 on Saturday afternoon is going to be awesome. The other thing is you probably got to use 5 pitchers that weekend. You may have to use 2 catchers. Nixa, Coach Hughes has done a good job. He catches 2 guys. We'll catch 2 guys because you got to save your catchers. But if you played on that Saturday, are you going to catch the same catcher both games Saturday after catching him Friday night? You may not be able to and have that guy at top performance. So as you're going through your season, if you think you're a quarterfinal team, who's going to pitch out of the bullpen for you in those moments? Who's going to be your second catcher? Those kinds of things are really going to matter. And so I'm excited to see the gamesmanship and the long-term strategy of thinking through that. It's going to be really exciting baseball. And a kid like Colin Kelly now has the chance to be the hero, whereas last year and in our previous models of quarterfinals, you threw your one guy and he had a week off and he had another week off afterwards. So you might throw your number 2 for a little bit, but now it's going to be, your number 2s is every bit as important as your number 1. There's a chance your number 3 is even more important because he might be closing a game and starting a game in the same weekend. And so who those guys are is going to make a real big difference, and I'm excited for it. I'm hoping we're in that quarterfinal. If not, I'm definitely going to watch quarterfinals somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I love that thought process. And when you start talking about these things, people go, well, I've seen a kid catch, tournament baseball and this. This isn't tournament baseball in this respect. This is the quarterfinals of Class 5 and Class 6 to get to the Final Four with an opportunity for a state championship. The pressure, the stakes are higher. We talk about what do you call? Oh, geez, high level pitches. Stress level pitches. When you're getting into late innings, how much stress are you putting on a pitcher? Well, that catcher's right there with him. How much stress are you putting on a catcher with guys on base, having to keep that ball in front, making him work, doing those types of things? And then the fact that you're playing in a quarterfinal, best 2 out of 3, it makes the mental part of it so much tougher.
Yeah, it's just going to be so mentally draining. That's what I mean kind of about the catching. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the game times are, but I would imagine if I was setting it, it would be Friday night at 6, Saturday at 12, if necessary at 3. On 6 o'clock Friday night, you're catching, you're doing all that stuff, you're amped up. You go home Friday night, you get up Saturday. Are you really ready to play a doubleheader that day? And like you said with tournament baseball, I love tournament baseball, but if you lose Friday night at 6, okay, well now it's a huge deal, and there is no game the next weekend unless you win 2 of them. And so the stress that's going to bring, and then the coaching decisions is going to be totally different. When do you throw your number 1? When do you throw your number 3? If you're up 5-2 in the 7th on game 1, who pitches that 7th inning for you? How deep into your rotation do you go? And then the pinch hitting matchups and all of that kind of stuff is just really going to play into it. And then do teams start changing their signs? When as in the major leagues, you play the same team 3 or 4 games, you start changing your sign systems. Well, that messed with some kids. So it's really going to be some exciting stuff.
So when we're talking about in Southwest and the districts and there, especially Class 5 and 6, where's the depth and where do you see some of these teams making those opportunities?
So I think Nix's got to be the top team in the area this year heading in. Max Press has them as the best team in the state. I'm not saying they underachieved last year, but I'm shocked they lost 15 games. I think talent-wise they were better than that. And so I think I think you had a little bit of a Final Four hangover like you see sometimes. They go to a Final Four. The next year they think they're going to be awesome. They didn't get off to a great start. They made some stupid mistakes, and they started pressing. I think this year they're going to be really good. After that, you've got Webb City, who was really good last year. You've got Willard. You've got Kickapoo, who had a little bit of a down year last year, but a lot of their guys were sophomores and juniors who will now be juniors and seniors and are pretty battle-tested. And you got a guy like Muldoon on the mound who could really pitch it. And then from there, in the Class 6 realm, Ozark is the team to watch. As I just wonder if you end up in a game and it's Pumphrey versus Gamble in the district championship, that's going to be a heck of a matchup. And I'm not saying Ozark's favored in that, but Pumphrey is the guy that could go 7 innings against a big-time lineup against anybody in the state and strike out 12 guys. When he's on, he's as good of a pitcher stuff-wise as anybody in the state of Missouri. And so you've got them, and then we've already talked about Glendale a little bit, but Glendale probably doesn't have the depth that they've had the last few years. But with Norman, Yates, Friesen, some of those guys, they're going to be pretty tough.
How about Logan Rogersville down there in Class 4? Where are they at this year?
Young, they're gonna play some freshmen, possibly. I'm not saying that's a definite, but there's a possibility of some freshmen. And here's what you're dealing with when you try to do that. If you go to them early and they're not ready, then you got to pull them from the lineup and they're done from the season. But if you don't play them at all early, they're not ready for late in the season. It's a really tough decision to make. I've had to make that a couple of times, and there's no easy answer to that. But Rogersville will be good. I don't know that they'll be quite as good as they were last year, just because they lost Ross Lawrence, who was so good for them on the mound. But they do have some really nice players over there at Rogersville in Class 4.
Very good. Who else is where's the challenges coming from down there in Class 4 with, Nevada? I know, is Seneca going to maybe make a step in that direction, some of those schools?
Yeah, Seneca's actually, they've got a group of seniors and juniors that have grown up playing quite a bit of baseball together. They're a team that no one really knows because, I don't even know if they claim themselves in the Joplin area. They're just far enough away that people don't pay attention to them. but they just play good baseball. They've got a really nice baseball facility. Seneca's a little bit like the town of Willard in that there's not a ton to do. So if you want to be good at baseball, there's not a lot of distractions. You're up at that field a lot. You're working out a lot. They have some nice players. I hate to name any of them by name because I'd hate to leave out the best kid or two, but I know they've got a depth of talent. I think their lineup 1 through 9 in Class 4 is going to be really tough to deal with. So, kind of like Ozark's my dark horse in Class 6, Seneca's probably my dark horse in Class 4 as far as the team that people don't pay attention to, that you might look up and see them in the Final Four and say, where's Seneca? I've never heard of them, and I think they could be that type of a team this year.
We started following Class 4 quite a bit last year. It was our first time we'd really done that, where we got some, we got Blair Oaks on the schedule this year. They're opening our live stream against St. Francis Borgia.
Ooh,
so I'm looking forward to that matchup. So I'm really interested to see how the Class 4 met Coach Bivens at Knob Noster. There's some really good, in that Moberly, Coach Engel at Moberly. I think Moberly's good. This Class 4 group this year, I think there's really good. Seneca, we had Seneca in our top 20 last year, and just trying to follow them as best we can and learning about the schools. That's why I'm interested to see what you think about them this year and hope to get a little bit more information about some of these Class 4 schools, because I think Class 4 is a tough class. We saw that last year. There was some really good baseball, high-level baseball in that Final Four. Blair Oaks taking the championship. So, yeah. And I think that's the Southwest there, Missouri, you can't sleep on the Class 4 group down there.
Yeah, historically it's been Rogersville, Catholic. Of course, now Catholic has to be Class 5, but our area, Aurora, has won Class. I think it was when there were 5 classes. They won some Class 3 state titles. Aurora's got a really nice group of freshmen and sophomores. So in a year or two, I think they might be in the mix again. And they've got a storied baseball program down there. So I think that's kind of the area. I don't know. The other thing about Class 4, the Boot Heel they have some good baseball down there. Mm-hmm. Schools like Kennett, when Kennett's Class 4, they're really strong. I don't know. I have no idea what the schools are like this year, but that's another area that you see some really strong Class 4 programs. But yeah, I'm excited to watch the Class 4 and see what happens.
Absolutely. Folks, this is head coach Scott McGee from Willard High School. He is a plethora of baseball information. That's why we love talking baseball with Coach McGee. Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time coming on, talking about Southwest Missouri and what's going on down there. We appreciate it greatly.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, please, if you like what we're doing, check this out. Share this out with your friends. Like it and share it out. We appreciate it. Let us know your comments below. Let us know what you think about it. Give us your top 5. Who's your top 5 in Class 6, Class 5, Class 4? We love to hear from you. A lot of good baseball coming up this season. We'll be down in Springfield, like I said, that last week in May. We got some good stuff coming up. Keep you posted on it. But until then, please subscribe, all of that sort of jazz. We appreciate you tuning in and your support. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. Always remember, you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters, Coach, you got to give them some advice.
Hit the fastball. When it's over the plate, you got to hit it.
Like Sebastian Norman, right?
Yeah. He needs to not hit the fastball this year. For one game, I need him to not hit.
There you go. We'll see y'all next time.